Hey everyone, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and review of the brand new M3 Lee tank platoon for Flames of War. This is a mid-war release coinciding with their Fighting First source book, bringing the Americans to mid-war in version 4. So this is new. These are M3 Lees in plastic. Previously the Lees were resin metal hybrid models. The frame, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, is the same frame as the Grant, so the models aren't brand spanking new, but this is the first time they've been packaged as Americans. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what we get. Taking a look at the back of the box, we have an exploded diagram or assembly diagram for the Lee, and then we have the contents: 5 plastic M3 Lees, 1 Tank Commander sprue, 1 decal sheet, 5 unit cards. So for more information, see Fighting First. So there you go, that's the back of the box. All right. So we get a Ziploc baggie with the crew, the decals, looks like the cards. And then we get the frames. We've got 5 frames here. 1 tank per sprue, and you can see that you have the Grant options on here as well. So that's a Grant turret for the British service, and the Lee turret is the smaller turret for the Americans. So I'm pretty sure this is the same exact sprue. This one is modeled in American olive drab, so I guess for folks who want to, you know, not paint their miniatures, at least their tank is a basic color, which is cool. I will take a look at a model once it's assembled, but we'll take a look at it on the sprue here. Now, I mentioned this in other reviews. I don't like these connection points here on the hull. You see how high up they are, and they are kind of going in where those rivets are. So you're going to have to be really careful in cutting this off the frame and making sure that you don't damage the rivets, cut up the hull. And I suppose if you make a mistake, you just model it as some battle damage or something, but I would have preferred if these connection points were along the bottom of the hull like that one. And I do know that we get 2 barrel options here. The Lee comes with the long or short barrel, and I think this is one of the barrels, and that's the short barrel there. So very cool. All right, let's take a look at the bag. Okay. So first up we have decals. This is different than the decal sheet in the armored rifle platoon. So this has the stripes, which is nice for the turret sides. The American flags for the hull. Very cool. And we have crew. Looks like some drivers maybe. No, I guess those are just crew. Looks like we have some crew. Then here in this box set we have quite a few cards. We have the Lee card itself. We have another Lee card, Tank Company HQ, a movement order cheat sheet, and a Fighting First formations list. So this is cool. Let's take a look at this one first. So you have your formations. These are what you find in the Fighting First book. You have the Stuart Company, Lee Company, Sherman Company, Tank Destroyer Company, Armored Rifle Company, and Rifle Company. And then you have their support units. And I like this allied support. You may field 1 compulsory unit from a British formation as support and 1 British formation as an allied formation. Having allied formations can be dangerous just if there's no way for them to get rerolls. If they break, they're gone. But it's a cool way if you wanted to add something. Maybe you wanted to add Crusaders to your Americans or something like that. Okay, then we have movement orders. This is just a movement order cheat sheet. Blitz, move, shoot and scoot, dig in, follow me, cross here. And it's kind of, your cheat sheet is themed to fighting first. Then we have the M3 Lee card. Now these two look identical. So I guess you're getting both of those for reasons. So I guess if you're running a Lee company, you could have a card for each one of your platoons. Let's take a look at the tank itself. The tank itself, there's a little glare there, sorry, is hit on a 3+, so it is equivalent of trained, motivation 4+, green 5+. So that skill test, green 5+, that's tough for tank companies. You're not going to be doing a lot of these movement orders. You know, blitz moves and whatnot. As far as the tank itself goes, front armor 5, side armor 4, top armor 1, so it's 1 less armor than a Sherman at front armor 6. Front armor 5, though, is still respectable in mid-war. When Germans are throwing out AT-9 from their main battle tanks, front armor 5 is not terrible. Then weapon-wise, you have the short or long gun in the hull. So the hull has that 75mm cannon, and I think it's 1 point to upgrade from a short to a long. Basically, it gets you 1 extra anti-tank rating. You go from a 9 to a 10. They do have stabilizers, and thank you for the commentator that pointed that out in my battle report. We totally skipped over the fact that the Lee had stabilizers, and that is one of the big differences between the Lee and the Grant. Is you've got stabilizers. So you're going to be throwing out more dice when you're shooting on the move. The turret gun is decent. It's anti-tank 7, 4+ firepower, secondary weapon. So it's a pretty cool option. And then the Lee has 4 machine gun shots. No 50 cal though. On the back side, we see each Lee is approximately 5 points. If you get the long, it adds 1 point to make them 6 points each. Forward firing, the hull gun is forward firing. Secondary weapon. And this is cool, and what makes Lee such a flavorful tank is the turret may fire at the same or different target at the same time as the hull gun. This gives the 37mm rate of fire 1 and a +1 to hit. Self-defense AA, I can fire at aircraft. It has smoke and stabilizers. So that secondary weapon rule just lets you fire both your guns at the same time. So if you're standing still, for example, you are firing your 2 shots out of your hull and 1 shot, at 1 harder to hit, out of your turret, which is cool. There you go. That is the M3 Lee. We're going to go ahead and build one so you can take a look at what the model looks like assembled. Alright, so assembly is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to bore you with the actual assembly because it goes so quickly. Just a couple of notes as far as options on the sprue. The kit does have some different kinds of stowage boxes on the back. The track guards are optional. I know in the artwork it shows the track guards being in place, but if you look at a lot of historical pictures from the time period, a lot of the American tanks did not have the track guards, so it's totally good to build them without or mix it, which I think I'm going to do in my case. You also have the options as far as whether the commander's hatch is open or closed, and whether you're putting in a 75mm short or long barrel in the hull. I built a couple, and here's one. The model went together, like I said, really easily, and I like this over the metal and resin hybrid. I actually sold off my old Lees to fund this army. I think I mentioned that before. Construction wise, again, very nice. There were just a couple of areas to pay attention to or to be on the lookout for. The top piece, this hull piece here, is one piece that lays down, and there's a seam along this line here, and then there's another seam back here, and you can actually see this seam. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. And you can actually do a better job. I'm going to super glue this down before I actually finish painting it, or glue it down a little bit to close that seam up. So that you want to watch when you're assembling it. And then also this back panel of the turret here just kind of slots in or glues in, and you can see a tiny little gap there. So you just have to be careful of that gap. But otherwise the details are really good. The turret is set up so you can either do a magnet or just the peg that comes with the kit. I did the peg. And you can see I've actually base coated this. You can see the original color under there with the official Battlefront olive drab for mid-war. And the other cool thing is the gun in the hull is actually movable, so you can pivot it. No up and down, but you can pivot it back and forth. So something obviously the resin and metal one can't do. So this actually is a few pieces. This is a cap that fits on. There's a pivot joint in there. But yeah, it goes together nice. That part of the tank went nice. So great kit with just keeping in mind the two seams. This seam I got, this seam I need to do a little work on. And this back piece, you want to make sure you get it as flush as you can. So there you go, guys. That is the M3 Lee kit from Battlefront for mid-war. I really like the Lee, as I mentioned before. I think this kit is a no-brainer. Again, 5 tanks retail for $45, all plastic. A pretty good detail as far as So there you go, guys. That's a look at the M3 Lee kit for the Americans. Retails for $45 US in the store for 5 tanks. Again, I think it's a good deal. The M3 Lee is an iconic and unique looking tank for the Americans in mid-war. You might see them in Russian lists. You can see the Grants and British lists, but they really give you some mid-war flavor to your list. So you'll be seeing these in my lists and in battle reports coming up in the future. So there you go, guys. That's the M3 Grant. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. Check us out on Facebook at All Miniatures Great and Small. Thanks for watching, and keep on wargaming.